You all understand what the word silos means? Yes, no? Do you all understand the dictionary meaning of silos? Yes or no? No? Okay, great. So we'll try and demystify that for you. And let me start with asking a question to each one of you, right? And we'll go one by one. Where typically do silos occur in organizations? And possibly why? We'll go with the first, Megha.
Okay. So I think maybe we explain what a silo is first and then where it exists in organizations. So a silo is nothing but like when you have various teams working together. If I relate it back to if you're working on a project on your campus and there is, you all have divided the work in 5 different people. And if the 5 of you all work independently, not talking to each other on how are you all going to submit your final submission, that is a simple explanation for a silo. And I think in organizations, of course, it's far more complex with all the tools and technology and the complexity of hierarchies that we have. So I think to your question, Vivek, I think silos are across. And I think a lot of the root cause of these of the silos comes from the broken systems and the processes that we have.
Thank you for that. Arshiya, over to you.
So, obviously the concept of silos was explained. I think there's a concept that we're all taught as children, right? Grow by growing others, the greater good and things like that. Unfortunately, the reality is because of the competitive landscape we live in, often it becomes grow by pulling others down. And silos, in my experience, get created where different units within a larger ecosystem, whether it's academia, whether it's an organization, different departments are rewarded for protecting their own metrics and interests at the cost of the others in isolation of that greater good. So if you're so at the end of the day, what gets rewarded gets repeated. And so if you're continuously incentivizing the wrong metrics, you tend to then operate within those silos. And we're seeing this even in geopolitics, right? Like nations are now suddenly becoming very closed and nationalized for that reason. So that's my...
Thank you, Arshiya. Thanks for that.
My fellow leaders have shared very good definitions of silo. I'll also add another perspective that silo is nothing but any group that we create, any kind of group or faction which might be boundaried by invisible or visible walls. It could be a group because of ideology, because of beliefs, because of the functional differentiation. In an organization, if I talk about, and it starts from the birth of a child, it's so early that we experience that silo. In school, there are powerful it's mentioned that, bully students in school, and there are people who are backbenchers, they create a silo. The toppers or, studious geeks, they create a silo. And their beliefs, the way they conduct and see things, or the perspective, the way they conduct themselves is different from the way other group is conducting. In your college also, you must be seeing placement committee, non-placement committee, HR, finance, marketing. These are all silos, functional silos. If I translate the same thing into society, silos are being created by caste, silos are being created by religion. Political parties are also representing certain silos with their beliefs. Sanatan, non-Sanatan, that is also a silo. Within a particular religion also there are silos, Shia, Sunni, a silo, right? So, and in organization context, the most visible silos are functional silos, HR, finance, marketing, operations. These are in a way silos. There are invisible silos as well, which are based on their beliefs or tenure in the organization, new versus old employees, right? Those who are old timers, legacy folks, and the ones who are coming from outside with new ideas, that also create a silo. So there are many means and definitions of silo. What it does to the shared purpose is it breaks from the shared purpose. It breaks people from shared vision and brings, it impacts clarity. So that is the contribution of silo. And the more silos are broken, we are moving towards shared purposes and shared goals and achieving higher impact.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Can you pass it on to Michelle, please?
Okay. Very good morning, everyone. How's the energy? It's seeming very, very low. And trust me, I had a very early morning flight today. So while my fellow panel sitting here had a great party last evening, I woke up at 2 in the morning to come here. So I need some energy in the room, guys. Good morning, everyone. Can we do it once again? Even the faculties, I know. And don't call me sir. While I was introduced as Misal, a very famous Maharashtrian dish, but my name is Misal, so you can call me as Misal. Let's do this once again. Good morning, everyone. Brilliant. I need that focus to be here. Trust me, the people that are sitting here are spoiling their Saturdays. I would say not spoiling, but we are investing the Saturdays in you. And we'll appreciate that sort of focus to be here. Can we stop the door moving? It's very distracting. Can we close that for half an hour, 45 minutes, please? It's my humble request. It's very distracting for me to focus out here. Brilliant. Now, if we have your energy, sir, Vivek sir is a great moderator. He has given me a task to not go beyond a minute, which I've already crossed. So sorry for that, sir. But in the context, I think when Seepika was speaking, she has covered mostly what silo has to be. I'll quickly take it to a different tangent, a question to all of you. How many of you feel silos happen because of communication? Can I see a raise of hand? Silos happen because of the communication. Only 2 of you? No one? It doesn't happen because of communication? Oh, 3, 4, okay. 5, now people are raising hand. But, sorry ma'am, you want to add something? Because of okay, lack of communication. Okay, so I'll give you a very interesting example. I had every time believed that silos are a result of lack of communication, but it's far more simple. Silos happens because of maths, at least in the organization context, and I'll tell you why. Simple example, sales team, quality team. We are creating a divide. And Seepika was talking about it. The more you create sects, now a sales team is given a target. You have to meet numbers, so they are operating on that quantum. Quality team is given a target, support team is given a target of quality. So you're asking 2 teams to fight with themselves. Sales is focusing on targets of selling it, doesn't matter how quality is, and support team is talking about quality and blaming sales. Very peculiar example in insurance industry you go. काम क्या है, मुझे प्रोडक्ट बेचना है, बाद में प्रोडक्ट क्या कवर करता है नहीं करता है मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है. And that's what happens. It is about collaboration. It is about how you more independently come and work together, sir. Sorry, sir, I took extra.
Not at all. Thank you. Thank you so much, Misal, for getting that in
hi
over
guys,
there.
very good afternoon. My name is Karuna, Vempala. So I believe that there are 4 silos are there in the world. One silo is going to be having a silo within the team, because team will not meet very frequently. You'll have a silo there. That's number 1. Number 2 is going to be a silo between departments, like your HR, your finance, your marketing, your management, your client. That's going to be second silo. And third silo is going to be you're not having a proper client interactions, not understanding what client is looking for. And the fourth silo is going to be your ego is going to be your own silo, because you're not coming out of your ego and talking to people. Because though you're a VP or SVP, go to people and talk to people, understand I think what they're doing. These are the 4 silos that we have to break to get there.
Thank you so much. I think, so you got the same explanation as in the same resulting answer of what a silo is, but with different examples, right? So we'll delve a little more into it. And I know as students from your school days till you came into college, you've always been told, do not show your paper to anyone when writing the exam. That's the only silo that you should practice. Now when you step into the corporate world, you should start making sure that you share what you have to make things happen. With that, on to the next question, and my question to you, Arshiya, is, I was going through your TEDx talk, and I saw you starting it with giving an example of the human body, and you related it to silos pretty well. Could you throw some light on what you spoke over there with the students?
Sure. So I briefly mentioned this. Look, the idea is that everything has to work in coherence. And a good example is the human body, right? If one organ or if one system overperforms at the cost of the other, like I said, it's called disease. So you kind of have to, your immune system can't overperform, you'll have an autoimmune. Your pancreas can't overperform. So in the end, there is this consciousness of what that greater healthy being needs to look like. I'll just take this to, the theme that we spoke about very quickly is we're talking about certain things as silos. I'll disagree a little bit. I feel like labels exist in the world today, sometimes for good reason, because, there's merit in having some method to the madness. So, there are labels of gender, there are labels of expertise, there are labels of authority, director, VP, right? What's tricky is the insecurity to let go of that label. So we're kind of talking about, yes, they exist. There's a beauty in discarding labels because there's a tendency for, most human beings to look at that label and stereotype to say, let's go to the expert. Let's go to the marketing team for a branding idea because you don't know what you don't know. But if you actually open it up and say, let's just crowdsource a lot of ideas, blank sheet of paper, come up with anything, you'd be surprised from where the most unique ideas come quite often. So human body is just to kind of to correlate what that greater good looks like. But in the end, I think there's merit in just discarding labels and ideating.
Fantastic. I think there couldn't be a better correlation to try and help you understand what silos are. And over to you, Seepika. So, and folks, this is for you specifically, right? So, as you know, these students, they specialize into different streams, marketing, HR, finance, so on and so forth, right? And as we just heard from you, when we are talking about silos in the corporate world, we're talking about each of these departments possibly not talking to each other, not interacting for various reasons. Selfish reasons, lack of knowledge, so on and so forth. What do you suggest? Should they continue deep specialization or should they also, right now, start looking at and understanding cross-functional areas?
Thank you, Vivek, for that question. But before I answer this, I want to just understand the mix of audience here. Please, a quick show of hands. How many of you are students of RCM college? All right. In the sides, in the center, and nobody here. How many of you are students of any college outside RCM? All right. So we have a good mix of students here. How many of you are academicians, professors, teachers? Great, thank you. So this helps me understand, to put the narrative, because while specialization, this question is for all the students out here. How many of you think that you will be given your first job or start of your career based on the function that you will choose from finance, marketing or HR? Just a quick show of hands.
You heard the question? How many
Rest
of
the students don't believe it, right?
Can I take the question? Did you hear the question? The question was, how many of you feel that once you pass out, you will get a job in your area of specialization?
Now, same question with a different context. How many of you think that this specialization that you choose will also determine your growth in the organization? Okay. Here is where I want to bring in perspective in front of all of you. When you will be hired, right? Specialization is something that provides a signal to capability, a signal to belongingness, a signal to expertise in a particular area. But once you are hired, your growth does not depend on the specialization alone. The thing it is dependent on is how you are able to understand the entire function, different domain, and able to scale it up, understand, and able to work with them together. In the longer run, it's not about specialization alone. you must have seen T, right? So specialization is the depth, the vertical line in the T, whereas the horizontal line in the T is where your growth resides. The more you understand other departments, not from a functionality and capability point of view, but what are their strengths, what are their challenges, how these different functions exist in the organization to achieve a common vision, shared purpose and objective. So that understanding and that acumen building, business acumen we call it in corporate, building that business acumen for success is very much important for your growth in the organization. And even when I have so many fellow TA leaders who have visited your campus, we were talking that what we are looking in a candidate when we go to a college for hiring. We understand you're absolutely coming from academic background, there's no experience per se. What we are looking at is that how much risk we are taking by hiring you. The risk is something which we are taking to ensure that once you are hired, you will be able to respond to different departments, cross-functional acumen you will have, and specialization across you will learn on the way. So, my dear friends, please focus on building this cross-functional business acumen. Any role in the organization which exists today is existing because it has a purpose to play in the organization. None of the organization we work for is an organization not for profit. We are working in a for-profit organization. We cannot say that HR is not important, finance is more important, marketing is more important, or operations is not important. Every organization exists because it is important for the function and overall success of the company. So focus on what is your innate strength, which capability you can demonstrate high, and how you are able to cross-functionally work with other functions to make the organization look good and successful.
Excellently put, Seepika. And folks, she heads total rewards globally for EXL, which is an HR function. And on a regular basis, she would be going through evaluating performance appraisal ratings, doing the quintiling and stuff. And she would be asking relevant questions to managers. Why do you think this person falls into a bracket? And I'm 100% sure one of the factors that comes in is how much has this person gone beyond his or her boundary, not only in terms of area of work, but overall. So thank you for that, Seepika. Misal, moving over to you. KPMG does hire freshers.
Yes.
In lots, hundreds, 200s, or smaller numbers?
Early thousands.
Thousands? Okay. In India?
In India.
Oh, India. Wow, lovely. Did you hear that? What did you hear? Please let me know. Let me know, what did you...
Sorry, yeah.
So my question to Misal was, does KPMG hire freshers? He said yes. I said, in how many? Hundreds? He
I
said?
said early thousands.
Thousands. So KPMG hires freshers in thousands. Question to you, Misal, is when you onboard these freshers, have you consciously, given the fact that we all coming from our respective corporate organizations, see the challenge that we face in people not collaborating and being siloed, do you build in some kind of an assessment or an evaluation or subsequent learning for them that brings in a culture of collaboration right from the word go?
So, very interesting question, Vivek. So, and probably it's an insight for all of you. I might speak on behalf of not only KPMG, but the larger consulting fraternity. The question that Vivek was asking, that in our assessment process, do we bring this element when we evaluate, and how, when we onboard these people, is that also kept in mind? Most of the consulting and most of the organization has a value system, okay? I think it's important when we talk about silos, how do we remove them? It's a natural call, and none of the organization wants to have a silo, but it happens as a human nature, everyone becomes territorial. Now, in our evaluation framework for freshers, because we would not be expecting you to be technical expert, we are not a product company asking you to do hard code coding or selling a product. So our assessments are in a way to see how your thought process is aligned to our value ecosystem. Now, when that happens, inherently these organizations want a lot of collaboration. Now, consulting as a job is not one person job. I'll give you an example. Say, for example, we sell a product of SAP in market. We go and implement that product. Now, what do? We give technical support, we give sales support, and we give all sorts of support. So there are 4, 5 departments coming together and pitching to a client. If only a tech guy goes and pitch to a client, the person will not understand industry, say oil and gas. उसको oil and gas को कुछ पता ही नहीं है, वो product बेच के क्या करेगा? So you need an industry expert, you need a technology expert, you need a sales expert. So it's one of the most important trait that while you take care of your P&L, it's also equally important that how you collaborate within. While it might not be, the money might not be coming in my kitty, it might be going to someone else's kitty, but we go together to go and pitch for a client. So Vivek, to your question, yes, it's part of the framework when we evaluate, not specifically asking questions, but we typically see how the value of students get aligned to the value ecosystem that we follow.
Thank you very much. I hope you got that, and that's very useful advice. And let me once again remind all of you, this is a discussion not for us and not for the faculty members here. It's more for you guys to imbibe and take back into your internships and as you graduate out into the market. So you need to start thinking now. So please pay attention. And let me do a quick attention check. 30 seconds before we get to Megha and then to Karuna. Can all of you please bring your hands together like this? All of you, bring your hands together like this. Hello there at the back, busy with your mobiles. Can you bring your hands together like this? Look up. All of you. All hands straight like this. I'm going to test your attention now. All set, ready? Hold. Now, slowly bring your hand to your chin. See how many of you are paying attention. All of you have brought it here to your cheek and not to your chin. None of you are listening over here. None of you are listening over here. Very few of you. I saw some of you bringing it down after sliding it down like this. So please do pay attention because this is for you, and I can tell you, I can't disclose the numbers. RCM has spent a bomb in getting us all over here. Okay, so please, yeah. Over to you, Megha. Question for you. You all heard about Nasdaq? Yes, no? Can we hear a louder yes? Have you heard about Nasdaq? Can't hear you. No. So please go and read about Nasdaq. So Megha is Director Talent Acquisition at Nasdaq. Question to her is, do you think silos are a cultural issue or leadership capability?
That's a tricky one because both kind of go hand in hand. I would say, one, again, I think silos are not necessarily created intentionally. They get created in the process of execution, and everyone's so focused on, I want to get my stuff done and meet my KPIs, meet my goals, and they don't necessarily care for the overall entire ecosystem that's kind of working towards the same goal. And I think today's day and time, I think it's becoming more and more a challenge, the whole silos, because the entire success of strategy lies in the journey of how the client execution happens, and not necessarily what HR is doing, what tech is doing, what product is doing, what whoever is doing. So I think from a leadership point of view, from a leadership point of view, I think that the shift needs to happen in leaders from who owns it to where does this impact. And from a culture, the culture will sustain if we make the structures that are required for teams to work effectively. The culture will sustain it, but leadership is what will decide the intent of what the big picture is.
Okay. So I think the reason why this question again is very relevant to you, one part is the leadership aspect, which you will eventually get into when you join firms. The second part is culture. So I think culturally you need to start tuning your minds towards working in a collaborative approach when you join organizations. Thank you for that, Megha, and over to Karuna. So,
Yes.
Karuna heads
Hello?
talent
Hello?
acquisition for Covasant, earlier worked for App Labs and for Signity. Karuna, question for you is,
Yes.
do you typically assess collaboration mindset when you're hiring? If yes, how? And what advice will you give to the students over here on what they should start focusing on or learning so that they succeed in interviews?
Okay. I think that's a beautiful question. Number one is that, no, I think whenever I go to campuses across India, to IIMs, to this kind of colleges and all the second tier, third tier colleges. The biggest thing is that, no, I think we see that there is an employability challenge right now. I think entire industry is undergoing. Employment is not a problem, employability is a problem because India is producing about 20 lakh people every year. Out of that, only 10% are employable. Why they're not employable? One is that, no, communication is a lacuna. Barring those IIMs or IITs or NITs, rural, semi-rural colleges, there is a lacuna between communication skills. That's number one. And number two is that, no, what I see in that is that, no, there is a lacuna in the soft skills like empathy, compassion, ideation, interpersonal skills. These are the things that are not lacking in the student mindset. And the third one is going to be the product mindset. Generally, what's happening in India is that USA is more of a product economy, like, no, NVIDIA or Google or Facebook. India is more of a services economy. So I think if UK or US cuts it, we are going to be the problem. So we have to build a product mindset. I think even management students have to have a product mindset rather than a services mindset. Those are the, I think, factors I think we look at it. And also adaptability. I think earlier we were talking about the fastest guy I think will survive. Now more adaptable guy will survive, just like amoeba. Amoeba, if you put in a bucket, it'll become a bucket. If you put in a mug, it'll become a mug. You have to become like amoeba. And you have to be adaptable to any situation. Right now AI is coming into foray. Because of AI, a lot of people are losing jobs. But how you adapt, how do you pivot yourself into that part of the world? These are the areas I think where I think we see there are some gaps in the employability context.
Thank you very much. Anyone picked up any of those? I just want to check. What's one thing that Karuna mentioned about preparing yourself with when you go for interviews? Because that assessment is going to also tell the recruiter whether you have a collaborative mindset or not. Anyone? Responding? Any brave heart there? No? Well, I'll come around in a bit. Okay. Thank you for that, Karuna. And Arshiya, moving back to you again. Folks, how many of you have seen organization structures? Have you seen organization structures or diagrams? Come on, you're all MBA, MCA students. Say yes or no. They look like a tree structure, isn't it? They look like a tree structure? Okay. That's better, whosoever said that. In frustration though, but good, thank you. So, typically that's how organizational structures are. And Arshiya in one of her talks brought in a variation or brought in an example of a separate kind of a structure which you've heard called the matrix structure. And what are your thoughts on the matrix structure successfully working in eliminating silos in spite of challenges that we have all noticed when we have a matrix environment?
Right. So just in terms of what Sir said, right, in terms of historically what we've known org structures to be, it's almost pyramid shaped, right? There's decision making concentrated at a certain level, and then there's a pyramid below that are executioners. If we were to think of a world, and it is a reality in which we live in, where decision making is not concentrated in the hands of a few on top, but it's actually opened up and shared across. As soon as you do that, it's very uncomfortable on various counts. One, we have to understand that people in the C-suite or leadership positions today, they've risen through the ranks where command and control and decision making has been systemically rewarded over time. So it's very difficult for people to let go of control, which is essential to the success of a matrix. As soon as you sort of say, okay, you are not the only decision makers, but it's actually shared accountability across the pyramid, there's a risk. There's a risk that without clear ownership, nobody takes ownership. So it's not easy, but there's a beauty in that matrix. And I'll tell you why, because BCG is an intensely matrixed organization where think of us as almost comparable to having 4,000 odd CEOs. It's a partnership firm. In that situation, if you bring in everybody involved in a certain objective in that boardroom, what tends to happen today? If I ask you today, for instance, who is responsible for the success of Ashwamedha? Who is responsible for the success of this event today?
Very good question.
By a show of hands, is it the organizing team? Is it the faculty? Is it the director general? Is it the panelists? Is it the student body? It's everybody, right? It's that shared accountability towards making this a success. Yes, the face of the success sometimes by design could be a certain individual or certain roles, but everybody is working towards that shared goal. Now, how would this in reality become successful? I'll tell you as this example. If you're in these planning committees, right, somebody is managing logistics, somebody is managing the panel content, somebody is managing the moderation and emceeing bit of it. If everybody ideates together, it can be looked at as a waste of man hours, that, you know, why are 70 people in this boardroom? Sure, that's one perspective. But if everybody has that discussion, disagrees, but after 4 hours comes out of that room having seen that journey of where you disagreed, why then you changed your mind, why you agreed, and walking out of that room, everybody has a clear understanding of the why behind the how. Today, the executors in the pyramid are told to do something without telling, and in their mind they're like, no, but I mean, this could be done in a very simple way. They have not been part of that journey of decision making and change shift where mindsets have shifted to agree with the risks, the pros, the cons, and then kind of, it's almost like when I was a child, if my mom tells me, oh, I want the curtain to be pink, I'm just told, right? But if I have a say in that decision, maybe at the end of it, I want the curtain to be pink, but I've had a say. And so I feel equally part of that objective. And I'll tell you the other benefit of it. The benefit is that if people are not part of the decision making, as soon as something goes wrong, there's a tendency of, I told you, ये तो होना ही था, मैंने तो बोला ही था, दूसरी तरह से कर लेते. So as soon as you feel like you belong to the end direction, and that's what we've implemented quite beautifully in a matrix setup, right? Like bring everybody along in terms of the decision making.
Thank you again, Arshiya, for putting that together. That was really nice. And just in case some of you are wondering that all students are moving around in blazers, the previous panel was in blazers, most of this panel are in blazers. Why are these two people without blazers? So, you know what happened? She told me in the morning she doesn't have a blazer. So I didn't want her to feel siloed, so I also removed my blazer. Okay, so can we get to you, Megha, over here next, right? So it's a related question to the one which I asked earlier. The first question was on, whether it's culture versus leadership.
Yeah.
So as a director of talent acquisition, do you think structurally as well, organizations falter on silos? Any example that you could share that a structure like this caused silos and damaged the organization?
So, I mean, I can give an example of Nasdaq and how we are. So, Nasdaq is basically an acquisition of 4 different cultures. So, Nasdaq primarily is a stock exchange, as everyone knows, but then they wanted to pivot from there and move into becoming more of a platform organization. So, they went into an acquisition spree and then they acquired 3 different, absolutely not connected business lines. And then over the last few years, I think we've been working on this one Nasdaq mission of trying to integrate and break these silos that exist. So 4 different business verticals, 4 ways of doing product management, 4 ways of doing coding, 4 ways of testing, 4 ways of marketing, 4 finance systems, 4 HR systems. So that's the enormity of silos that exists. And of course, over the last 2 years, we've been actively, consciously working to breaking down these silos and making it a more seamless and a one experience, because culture culture is nothing but what you feel and experience the organization. Is what when you, at the end of the day, or not even at the end of the day, when you're talking with a friend or your spouse over a drink about your boss, right? That's a very common conversation, and what you talk about them is how you perceive them as the culture bearer of your organization. So I think, and then if in these silos that we have, it again, the matrix organization, ours is also a very highly matrix organization, and I think consolidating these and bringing them into more logical structures which work very effectively, and with the end goal and vision of making more money for the company, I think is what's kind of driving our work today.
Thank you. Yes, in fact, I was just going to connect the dots between both of you. So before you do that, so what she mentioned is something which you guys will encounter when you get into organizations. I'll take the product example where you won't have 4 different teams doing product their own way. You'll probably have a horizontally cutting across product organization that defines how it needs to be taken care of, right? Yeah, Karuna.
Yes. So, one is that, no, there are 2 examples I can quote right now here. I think between talent acquisition to sales to HR to management, basically what we do is that, no, we integrate in the offering process itself, the gross margin, net margin, how it will impact EBITDA of the company, right? Because at the end of the day, if you are having a good EBITDA, the valuation is going to be higher. The less EBITDA, less valuation, that's going to be there. We implemented actually, for example, I'm hiring an architect. What is the billing I'm getting? What is the guy coming in? What is the margin that we have? What you bake in will actually come in the product. That's number 1. And number 2 is that, no, whenever we are hiring people, we integrate with HR. For example, I'll be doing a quality assurance. I'll get a guy with 2 levels of interviews, technical rounds, communication check, everything. I'm a recruitment guy. I'll hand over to HR person. HR person will do quality assurance, quality control. Okay, you're getting a guy, he's good to go. If you're not doing that, I think integration between HR and talent acquisition, what is going to happen is that, no, you are getting a bad guy, then we have to fire him. The entire talent experience management journey will actually take a beating. So I think the quality of hire, to improve quality of hire, you have to have integration between talent acquisition, HR, and business, so that, no, you are getting a right person, they'll not be leaving immediately into from the organization. These are 2 examples I can quote.
Okay, so we have 3 more questions. Would you want us to go through the questions, or do you have questions that you want to ask? And we have about 10-12 minutes, correct? Either of the 2. Shall we continue with the 3 questions we have, or you have any questions? Continue, okay, right. So, Seepika, over to you. I don't know how many of you have heard about something which is known as Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs. So this question is related to that and how it links to silos. So, Seepika, post-COVID, largely post-COVID, maybe even before that, people have gone into a state where all that matters to them is their physiological needs. You know, they come into office, do their work, get their pay packet, and go back, right? The 2nd and 3rd levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs are not even looked at. And that possibly could be a reason why people don't connect. I'm done with my day job, I'm leaving. At the 2nd level, we talk of psychological safety. And at the 3rd, it is belongingness. So maybe if we reach level 3, the chances of silos not being there may be better. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think or what are the steps you would take as HR in EXL to try and address this if it's a problem?
This question may sound philosophical, but it is very practical in nature. How practical? I'll demystify it for you. We have been reading Maslow's hierarchy of needs over the years, and multiple interpretations have been there in the theories of management. But societies and generations have also evolved. What used to be the basic, what the bottommost need was security needs, survival needs. Today, in the world that we are in, technological capability, financial capabilities have also enhanced and improved. And thereby, what I believe is maybe the matching of the generations or the career stages with Maslow's hierarchy of needs is not relevant in today's context. Today, when freshers get inducted in the corporates, it's not just their security and survival needs for which they are entering. It's beyond that. Maybe they're already sitting, their survival needs have been met, and they're sitting in philosophical and self-saturation needs. Sense of purpose is the first thing that today's generation, Gen Z, if I talk about, they are looking while they're choosing their jobs. Financials, yes, it should be as high as possible. That comes without saying. But at the same time, what makes them hooked for their job is not because continuity of the salary coming every month. There's no job security fear anymore. That is what I feel. Now, I'll take this concept a little further and will request all of you to imagine something. Imagine that there is an orchestra playing on the stage. And in that orchestra, if you imagine that functional departments in the organization, if I relate it with that, and say marketing is controlling the brass, making a lot of noise. Finance is defining the tunes over a violin, right? The strings. HR is controlling the rhythm. Operations is managing percussion, right? And in this kind of symphony, the irony that has happened, all these musicians have practiced in silo. Marketing team who is managing brass, they have practiced in a building. Finance team has practiced their violin tunes in a room. And all of them have believed that they are the one who is going to lead the show. And when all of us different musicians who are expert in their craft, when they are on stage with the belief that they are the one who is running the show, what will result in such an orchestra? The outcome of such an orchestra will not be music. It will be noise, right?
Yep.
What is signaled, what is seen in the orchestra is synchronization, symphony, collaboration. All of these function leaders or the musicians need not to be expert and knowing other musical instruments. What they need to know commonly is when to collaborate, when to take the lead, and when to only support. And when that happens, because all of them are going to refer to the same book of music, they have to understand what is the common purpose for which an organization exists. And same is the thing for anything in life which requires collective effort. And I'll take this example. Arshiya has beautifully taken this example of Ashwamedha. Right? So I'll translate the same thing to Ashwamedha. And when you take a big objective, what happens is you need collaboration. You first of all define what is the purpose. What is the purpose of an event of this scale and size? Then you define the people. Who are the people who are going to make it a success? Then you define your resources. How we are going to support for an event of this size. Then you also define what could be the potential challenges and work towards ironing it out. You seek cooperation between different functions. And you all look forward to a collective win. And once that win happens, a reward and recognition also happens. So these all the things and elements of anything great that we want to achieve, it relates to that. And none can be achieved in business as usual. BAU. BAU, my dear friends, is the most common word we use in corporate language these days. But nothing great can be achieved in BAU. And BAU is nothing but your functional expertise. The greatness or greatest things in anyone's career or success comes when you collaborate and achieve something which is not BAU, not business as usual.
Done?
So that is my contribution
Sorry,
to this.
we got a warning bell from there that 5 minutes left. Okay, so two questions, 2.5 minutes each. 2 minutes each, because 1 minute I'll take. Okay, so Misal, for you, the question. Can you, within 2 minutes, share an example that silos, that happened because of silos, loss in revenue, loss in opportunity, market share, competitiveness, any example?
Okay, I think there's lot, and if wherever you look across while you work or you see, you find such issues happening in. But for everyone to relate in, I probably give an example of an era before these kids were born. But we have heard about Sony Walkman. Sometime back in 90s, early 90s, or even early 2000s, Walkman was something which was leading the market. Do we see Sony leading in the media player segment now? The answer is no. So what actually happened there? And a very classic example of how silos, working team could not lead Sony in the era wherein music is transforming the way that is being heard. So what had happened? Two teams were conflicted because they were understanding their work and not looking at the larger segment. So there was a product team which we wanted to get into the e-music segment of iPods at that point of time. Whereas the music team, which used to hold the copyright for music, said, no, it's a risky affair. I don't want to go the electronic way. I would want to continue in the same way. While this conflict happened, when we say two cats fighting and the monkey takes something else, the chapati out from your hand. So that exactly happened. In that fight of two departments, they were not communicating on the larger vision, is a result of what Sony were today is. They lost that segment to the market, and today what iPods and the other music segment in the e-way is coming in is one great example. And trust me, even in your teams, it's not about a corporate example. All of us, we struggle to beat that silo, but consciously if we keep that in mind that, oh, this is actually coming on the way of the larger good, we should keep it aside. I think it's very easy to sort that out. So.
Thank you, and that was on time. Thank you so much for that. Right, so the last one for Karuna.
Same question? Same question?
No, not same.
Yeah.
It's slightly different.
Okay, no problem.
But again, you have just 2 minutes.
Wonderful, yes.
Now, as part of talent acquisition, you have a tough job, right? To bring together recruitment, hiring managers, talent management, the candidates, and make sure they're all in sync, work together, and there are no silos over there, because otherwise you end up compromising, quality over quantity versus technology versus other aspects. So, any piece of advice you want to give to the students here on what they should start practicing to ensure that they have that kind of a thinking going of bringing together all these four functions which are part of talent acquisition. So all HR specialists.
No, I think basically. You're breaking in between. Can you be a little...
So I said there are a lot of people who are doing HR specialization. Some of them may get into talent acquisition. Any advice to them to start thinking about and practicing now so that they come up to a level where you are today and you're able to bring together all functions as a single unit?
That's a beautiful question. One is that I think future of HR is going to be kindness. I think the person who are having empathy, compassion, touch will actually thrive better than other leaders. I think my advice is that whenever you, I think, looking at a HR, I think, point of view, talent acquisition point of view, you practice empathy and compassion. Compassion for your colleagues, compassion for your colleagues, compassion for your mother and father, compassion where you join. I think everywhere compassion works, because if you are compassionate or empathetic, you want the person 50%. Suppose you are meeting Vivek, if I'm compassionate, if I'm actually very, very kind with him, already won him 50%. Remaining 50% you have to do with your time management skills, other skills you have to there. But this is, I think, one advice I want to give to HR guys.
Excellent points shared over there. Guys, I hope you all understood what was shared by Karuna now. So I think with this, we're coming to an end of this panel discussion. And I'd like to do two things. One is thank the panelists for their time. Excellent answers, wonderful answers. If you have listened and heard what they've said, I'm sure you'll benefit. The second is I'm leaving all the students with a question, which probably you may know the answer. Go and find out what organizational constipation means. Thank you so much.